Hey, how's everyone doing? Well, last weekend we saw a deck build video of an efficient shaper deck which uses lots of stealth breakers to get through ice for cheap, followed by two gameplay videos. I'm gonna do a similar thing today, but with another deck. It's also a shaper deck, but this time it's gonna be a Panchatantra deck. Yep, I played around with Panchatantra before, the Panchatantra gingerbread deck, kit deck. If you've been watching my videos, today I'm going to actually do a video or a deck that is based on my first impression of Panchatantra. When this card was first spoiled, everyone's first reaction was, wow, gingerbread is suddenly good again. My reaction wasn't that. I was actually thinking more towards Deus Ex and Sharpshooter. I think Deus Ex and Sharpshooter work better with Panchatantra. Because firstly, gingerbread is not all that efficient, secondly, gingerbread costs influence, and thirdly, Deus Ex and Sharpshooter are just so good. Look at it. Breaks any ice in the game. Any ice. Of course we're gonna play Deus Ex. Sharpshooter. Well, if 3 install cost is too expensive, how about this one? 1 install cost breaks anything strength 3 or less for free. Ichi breaks for 4. Tobu breaks for 4. And yeah. Sorry, breaks for 2 credits. Anything that's 4 or 5 strength breaks for 2 credits. Anything that is 6 strength or 7 strength breaks for 3 credits. It's so good. So suddenly you have a pretty good breaker suite already, just like that. If anyone's playing big ice like Curtain Wall, like Yenus, you play Deus Ex, 3 credits to get through, and 1 click, the click to install. Sharpshooter deals with the smaller ice. Your ice walls, your wraparound. Wraparound is a factor, let's ignore that. Enigmas. All these just cost 1 credit and a click. Pretty efficient. Let's make it more efficient. Let's play Haley. We play Haley because the click to install is actually pretty significant. At this rate, you're better off clicking through Bioroids instead of spending money and clicks to get through with Deus Ex and Sharpshooter. So Haley definitely reduces the click cost and actually makes these breakers viable. Needless to say, we need to run quite a bit of recursion, so let's go with the clone ships and scavengers right now. You could play this in Kate, and the advantage of Kate is that you install sharpshooters for free. The thing about this is you do not need much money to break ice at all. As I said, like Archangel usually costs 5 credits for criminals to break. With Deus Ex it costs just 3 credits. So credits is not an issue. The bigger issue is clicks, and this is why we play Haley. Now, if you want to take advantage of Haley's ability, let's include more programs. Cheap programs that you can install alongside Sharpshooter and Deus Ex. We are thinking of Cash, solid Econ Engine, especially now that Lucky Find is gone. And we want a card that gives you a discount on installing Deus Ex and Sharpshooter. Now, there are various good cards, and most of them are in the Shaper faction, such as Rara, 2 recurring credits to install. There's also Macro Drive, 1 recurring credit to install. One's a program, one's a hardware. They are both pretty decent, but at the end of the day, it's still better to fork out that 1 extra influence to play Sherazade instead. The main benefit of Sherazade is that it synergizes with Haley, which is what we're playing. The problem with Haley is that you are installing your breakers in bursts rather than in consistently slow drip. You don't install 1 breaker a turn. There are turns where you don't install breakers at all, and there are other turns where you install 2 or 3. With your ability, you want to install 2 breakers at a time, or 2 programs at a time for that matter. As such, it's not very good to use recurring credits because they generally won't be enough to feed 2 programs. Whereas Sherazade rewards you 1 credit for each program installed, regardless of how many or how few you install. So that's why we want Sherazade, and it only costs 1 influence. Why not? Of course, there's 3 Panchatantra. Not only for the consistency, but also allowing us to get past stacks of 3 ice. If the opponent decides to stack more than 3 ice, you have to hope that at least one of the ice in the server is a AP or a destroyer, which isn't too much of an issue. Most decks run some form of AP or destroyer, so you're usually fine. But just in case, maybe NBN Fast Advance has a wraparound Archangel Tobu server. That is pretty nasty. So to deal with that, we looking at the meta right now, code gates are very popular because they tend to be low res cost and high strength. Think of Archangel, Turing, all these problematic code gates Why don't we find a solution to that? We are in the code gate faction anyway, so let's get an efficient decoder. Shaper, program. What is the decoder that is best suited for this deck? Well, we are going to consume a lot of memory. This is a big problem. Panchatantra times 3 of these breakers, that's 6 memory already. We are already well above our limit, so we want something that only costs 1 memory. We can't use Refractor because we don't use stealth credits. So Sage is out. Study Guide is in contention. Torch is in contention. Sai is in contention. I do not like Guardian Blade or Zoo Keymaster. As I mentioned, the ice that we want to break are high strength code gates. These don't deal with high strength code gates very well. So of the other 3, Study Guide takes quite a long time to pump. This is not a stim hack deck. I usually advocate playing stim hack in Haley. This is not the kind of deck because all the stuff is installed for cheap. So you don't really need a stim hack. This isn't really a personal workshop deck either. Everything can basically be installed for hand and from hand without too much of a tempo hit. So we are looking at Sai or Torch. Sai has that big restriction, and this is the biggest problem with it, I feel. I'd rather have a universal breaker, so I'm going with Torch. Now, Torch is very expensive to install. As you will soon find, this deck actually makes enough money once it gets going, such that it can conceivably install Torch from hand. But in case it, in the event that we don't really have the opportunity to do that, or if we draw Torch early and we dump it because we don't really need it early on, we can play Modded to install it cheap from hand. 6 credits is kind of a tall order, but at least it gets us past all the annoying code gates from now on. Test run's also good with the scavenge combo. Speaking of which, we need more scavengers. So test run scavenge seems reasonable. Alright, so that more or less does it for the programs. Test run is also good because it gives us another out to find our Panchatantras or our missing sharpshooters and Deus Exes, should we ever need them. It's basically the SMC for this deck. This deck could use an SMC, but memory is definitely an issue. This is why I'm kind of moving away from SMC. Speaking of memory, let's settle that. Astrolabe and probably the Cyber Solutions membership. Because your late game rig will be 3 temporary breakers, 3 Panchatantras, and 1 Torch. So Size Solution membership plus Astrolabe will bring you up to 7 memory, which is enough for that. So now, obviously, there's a big problem. You're already shouting at your screens. Are you sure you can get through the servers enough times to win the game? And the answer is no. You need a levy. You only have 5 breakers plus 3 clone chips plus 2 scavengers, 10 chances to break ice. So a levy will double that. So that's quite important. We'll also want to run the same old thing, allowing us to same old scavenge and same old levy. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it's basically a flexible card that allows you to adapt to the needs of every individual game. So back to the problem. If we are using disposable breakers like this, we want high impact runs. We cannot be simply getting single accesses or dawdling about. This is not a deck that can R&D lock effectively. This is a deck that needs to win quickly before the corp gets a 5 stack R&D or something. So, as usual, I'm going with my Ketzo deck's idea, which is rush to 7 points before the opponent even knows what hit them. We're going to play 2 legwork, and we're going to play a Maker's Eye. And to complement the R&D pressure, we are going to play a couple of R&D interfaces as well. R&D Eye is generally preferred over Maker's Eye nowadays because it is reliable, it's not stopped by Crucium Grid, and it allows you to pressure the opponent even if you don't have a Maker's Eye in hand or a same old thing on the board. Alright, so that settles that. We do need more money. We do need some card draw. Let's go with the Diesel. Tempted to put Sure Gamble here, but with cash, I think it makes more sense to go for the pawn shot route. So programs are the primary target when it comes to firing Haley's ability, but resources do just a good job as well. We want cheap resources, so if you see a same old thing, Aesop's in your opening hand, you can conceivably play easily using Haley's ability and not set yourself too far back on tempo. What other cheap resources are there? Daily Cast, that's a given. Earthrise, that's a pretty good card draw. Substitutes Quality Time that you see in most Shaper decks because Earthrise allows you to trigger Haley's ability, so why not? one important card that I want to play here is Street Peddler. This sounds a bit weird, but Street Peddler actually accelerates your game by a lot. It also makes sense in this deck because there are not that many tutors in this deck. Most prepaid kit decks before Most Wanted lists contain 3 SMCs. That's the competitive level of consistency that you want to shoot for. This deck has nowhere near 3 SMCs, just 1 test run, and you need a 2-card combo. Deus Ex or Sharpshooter into Panchatantra to get through any server. So Street Peddler allows you to accelerate this for very low credit cost, which is quite important because there's a good chance that you don't see your cast or your cash and you'll be very sad. So this is not very acceptable. So we want something like Street Peddler, which is very cheap to install, combos with Haley's ability, and allows you to get going and hopefully see those Panchatantras and Sharpshooters you need to begin playing your legworks. Once you see both of these cards, you can safely legwork. There's no ice that can stop you in the game. Even a wraparound costs 3 credits with either Deus Ex or Sharpshooter. So Street Peddler is quite important for that reason, whereas SMC would cost you 2 credits in addition to the install cost of the breaker that you want, which is very expensive for early game Haley. Peddler even reduces the price, gives you a discount. Sharpshooter costs 3 to install, Deus Ex costs 2 to install. Yeah, Peddler is just great. And what else can we play? We have one more deck slot. It's gonna be some sort of tech card. We can either play Plascrete. I'm gonna play Film Critic here, but it doesn't really matter. Play whatever you need to counter your meta. So there you have it. This is my Haley deck. More or less, you can switch a couple of cards around, most notably the flex slot for what do you call this? Tech slot. You could also drop 1 scavenge if you feel like it, because generally scavenge will usually be used for scavenging cash to give you more money. It's a cheap gamble basically that can be played from 0 credits. That also triggers Haley's ability. Scavenge is not that useful for recurring Deus Ex or Sharpshooter because once you use them, they go in the bin, so there's nothing left to scavenge, right? So you could conceivably go down to 1 scavenge to play a Plascrete, that's fine as well. But this is the basic shell. Your first few turns will all be about the setup. You'll be setting up your money, your card draw, most importantly your card draw, so that you can find your breakers. Once you get your program and your breaker, you go for massive digs with Maker's Eye, Legwork, and R&D Interface. With one more influence, yes. One influence shot, you could play Utopia Shard, which is another form of HQ pressure. So chances are, by the time you found your combo, you should have either drawn your Legwork or Utopia Shard and should be able to place decent pressure on HQ. When that happens, you usually get halfway to your victory condition because typically you steal about 2 agendas. Utopia Shard is also very good here because it doubles as Plascrete. It gives you flatline defense, meaning that you don't really need to play Plascrete anymore. You do have to drop 1 card though. You don't want to play 46 cards. You could drop a scavenge, I guess. So there you have it. That's the deck. Yeah, not much to say about it. It's very strong because just like Faust, it allows you to face check ice once you have the combo set up and not have to worry about what the ice is. You're just going to smash through it anyway. It's definitely going to be a problem. Once the opponent knows what you're doing, they start stacking ice and suddenly you find that it's very difficult to get through servers, especially if you don't find your second copy of Panchatantra. That usually is a problem. But otherwise, it's a pretty good tier 2 deck to bring to your local game night store. It's very fun, catches a lot of people off guard, and actually allows for some very fancy plays. So I'll be uploading 2 games of myself playing this deck against some people on jinteki.net, and hopefully you'll be interested enough to try it out yourself. It really is a lot of fun, and if you are intrigued by the concept at all, be sure to sleeve it up yourself. In the meantime, thanks for watching Happy Night Running. Hope you enjoy the series. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.